Captain Jake Morrison looked out the window of his ship. The stars looked beautiful against the black space. His ship, the Horizon, had been traveling for 3 months now. This was Earth's first real journey into deep space. Jake felt proud to lead this mission. The crew was small, only 78 people. They were scientists, engineers, and explorers. None of them were soldiers. They came to learn about space, not to fight. Jake walked through the narrow halls of the ship, saying hello to his crew members. In the medical room, Dr. Lisa Chen was looking at samples from a planet they had visited last week. She smiled when Jake came in. "Everything looks good, Captain. No dangerous bacteria or viruses." Jake nodded and continued his walk. In the engine room, Ryan Foster was fixing something on the main reactor. He was young but very smart with machines. "How are we doing, Ryan?" Jake asked. "All good, sir. The engines are running smooth," Ryan replied without looking up from his work. Jake felt happy. His crew was doing well. They had no problems. Life on the ship had become normal and peaceful, but they did not know they were being watched. Far away, hidden from sight, 6 alien ships floated in space. These ships belonged to the Vraxians. The Vraxians were hunters. They traveled across the galaxy looking for new creatures to hunt. It was their way of life. Commander Zethrak stood on the bridge of his command ship. He was huge, over 8 feet tall. His skin was covered in hard black scales. Sharp claws extended from his fingers. His teeth were like knives. He looked at the screen showing the human ship. "They are weak," said his second officer. "They have no shields. Their weapons are very old. They use bullets instead of energy weapons." Zethrak made a clicking sound with his mouth. This meant he was happy. Perfect. They will be easy to hunt. The Vraxians had rules about hunting. They always studied their prey first. They watched how the prey moved, how they lived, what they feared. This made the hunt more interesting. For 2 days, the Vraxians followed the Horizon. They learned everything about the humans. The humans seemed soft and slow. They spent their time looking at stars and collecting rocks from dead planets. They laughed and talked about peaceful things. They seemed like perfect victims. On the Horizon, Lieutenant Amy Parker was checking the ship's sensors. She noticed something strange. There were small distortions in space around them. It was like something was there, but not really there. She made a note about it, but did not think it was important. Maybe it was just radiation from a nearby star. Jake was in his room when the alarm went off. It was loud and sudden. He ran to the bridge as fast as he could. When he got there, he saw something that made his blood freeze. 6 alien ships had appeared around them. They just materialized out of nothing. The ships were dark and covered in strange markings. They looked dangerous and deadly. "Captain, they're locking weapons on us," Amy said. Her voice was shaking. Jake's mind raced. They had always wondered if aliens existed. Now they had their answer. But these aliens did not look friendly. A message came through on the radio. The computer tried to translate it. The voice was rough and harsh. "You have been chosen for the great hunt. You will run. You will hide. You will die. This is the way." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach, but he forced himself to stay calm. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. "All crew to emergency stations. Amy, prepare to move the ship. Ryan, I need everything you can give me from the engines." The crew moved quickly. Everyone knew their job, but they were scared. They had come to explore, not to fight. The Vraxian ships moved closer. They were in a perfect circle around the Horizon. It was a hunting formation. They had done this many times before. Jake grabbed the radio. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. We mean you no harm. We are explorers, not warriors. There is no need for violence." "No, Captain Jake Morrison." X-Plane. Zethrak heard the message and laughed. "They beg for mercy. They always do." The first attack came without warning. Bright energy beams shot from the Vraxian ships. They hit the Horizon's outer hull. Metal tore apart. Air rushed out into space. 3 sections of the ship lost pressure immediately. Alarms screamed everywhere. The ship shook from the impact. Jake held onto his chair to stay standing. "Return fire! All weapons!" Alarm 17 blunged. The Horizon's guns started shooting. These were railguns. Machines that threw metal slugs very fast. The bullets flew toward the Vraxian ships. But the aliens moved easily out of the way. They were much faster than the human ship. The Vraxians were playing with them. They could have destroyed the Horizon in seconds. But that would not be fun. They wanted the humans to run and fight. They wanted a good hunt. Ryan worked frantically in the engine room. He had an idea. He had been working on a new targeting program in his spare time. It was not finished yet, but maybe it could help. He pushed buttons and rewired circuits as fast as he could. "Captain, try the guns now," Ryan shouted into his radio. Jake gave the order to fire again. This time, something different happened. The computer analyzed how the Vraxian ships moved. It predicted where they would go next. The bullets went to those spots. One slug hit a Vraxian scout ship right in the engine. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Everything stopped for a moment. The Vraxians could not believe it. The prey had killed one of them. This was not supposed to happen. On his command ship, Zethrak roared in anger. One of his warriors was dead. The prey had actually fought back and won. This changed everything. The game was now serious. "Kill them all," Zethrak ordered. The 5 remaining Vraxian ships charged at the Horizon. Their weapons glowed hot, ready to fire. The humans had made them angry. Now, they would pay. The Horizon flew through the asteroid field at full speed. Rocks floated all around them. Some as small as cars, others as big as mountains. Jake steered the ship carefully between them. Behind them, the Vraxian ships followed like wolves chasing a deer. Energy beams cut through space, hitting asteroids and breaking them into pieces. The Vraxians were getting angry. They were not used to prey that fought back. Usually, their victims just ran until they got tired. Then, the Vraxians would close in and finish the hunt. But humans were different. Jake and his crew were thinking of ways to survive. They were not just running. They were planning. In the medical bay, Lisa was taking care of injured crew members. 3 people had been hurt when the first attack damaged the ship. She worked quickly, stopping bleeding and setting broken bones. Her hands were steady even though the ship kept shaking from impacts. Between patients, Lisa thought about something. A few days ago, they had collected samples from a planet. One sample had bacteria that was very aggressive. It grew fast and adapted to new environments quickly. Lisa had an idea. Maybe she could use this bacteria as a weapon. "Ryan," she called on the radio, "I need you to build me some dispersal units, like spray cans, but stronger." Ryan was confused, but he trusted Lisa. "How many do you need?" "As many as you can make in 2 hours," Lisa said. On the bridge, Lieutenant Ben Hayes was listening to the Vraxian radio chatter. He was good with languages, and the computer was helping him translate. What he learned made him feel sick. "Captain," Ben said quietly, "these aliens are hunters. They do this for sport. They travel across space looking for new species to hunt. It's legal in their society." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. "What happens if we surrender?" Ben shook his head. "They don't accept surrender. The hunt only ends 2 ways. Either we escape or we die. Those are the only options." Jake hit the console with his fist. They were far from Earth. No one was coming to help them. They were alone against aliens who hunted for fun. Another energy beam hit the ship. This time it took out one of the main power lines. The lights flickered. Some systems went offline. "We can't keep this up much longer," Amy said. "We're losing power fast. Life support is failing in sections 4 and 5. Jake made a decision. If they were going to die, They would make it costly for the Vraxians. Ryan, how much power do we have left? Ryan checked his screens. Maybe enough for 3 or 4 more hours at this rate. Can you overload the reactor? Make it look like we have more power than we do? Ryan understood immediately. You want to bluff them? Make them think we're holding back. Exactly. And I need you to do something else. Can you turn the reactor into a bomb? Ryan was quiet for a moment. Yes, but it would be dangerous. If something goes wrong, we all die. If we do nothing, we die anyway. Start working on it. Jake then called everyone together on the radio. Listen up. We're going to make these hunters think they've won. We're going to play dead. Then, when they come to finish us off, we hit them with everything we have. The crew understood. It was risky. But it was their only chance. Over the next hour, Ryan worked like he had never worked before. He rewired the reactor, turning their power source into a massive electromagnetic pulse bomb. At the same time, he rigged the ship's systems to fake damage. They would make the Vraxians think the horizon was dying. Lisa finished her biological weapon. She had modified the bacteria to attack reptilian breathing systems. It was not perfect. She had never done something like this before. But it might work. Amy and Ben prepared fake distress signals. They recorded messages that sounded desperate and afraid. Everything had to look real. Then they waited. Jake gave the signal. The horizon stopped moving. The engines shut down. Lights went out. The ship began drifting, spinning, slowly. Atmosphere vented from several holes, making it look like life support had failed. The distress beacon activated, broadcasting on all frequencies. The message said the captain was dead, most of the crew was dead, and the survivors were trapped in the center of the ship with no way out. The Vraxians watched from a distance. Zethrak studied the human ship carefully. It looked finished. No power, no weapons, no movement. The prey had given up. Prepare boarding parties, Zethrak ordered. We will finish this hunt face to face, as tradition demands. This was what Jake had hoped for. The Vraxians wanted to board the ship. They wanted to hunt the humans in close combat. It was more honorable in their culture. 6 Vraxian shuttles left their ships and flew to the horizon. They docked at different airlocks. Warriors poured out, each one tall and deadly. They carried energy weapons and wore light armor. Their claws clicked on the metal floors as they moved through the dark corridors. They used heat sensors to track the humans. They saw warm bodies scattered throughout the ship. Some were alone, some in small groups. The humans seemed disorganized and desperate. Perfect. But the Vraxians did not know that those heat signatures were fake. Ryan had placed heat generators around the ship to fool their sensors. The real crew members were wearing special suits that masked their body heat. They were hiding in the walls and ceiling, waiting. The Vraxians moved deeper into the ship. That is when Lisa's biological weapon activated. Hidden vents released the weaponized bacteria into the air. The Vraxians breathed it in without knowing. Within minutes, they started having trouble breathing. Their throats closed up. They coughed and gasped for air. The confident hunters became confused and scared. They could not fight an enemy they could not see. That is when the humans attacked. Lieutenant Nick Crawford had been a soldier before joining the space program. He led the counterattack. The crew members emerged from their hiding spots with improvised weapons, pipes, tools, anything that could hurt. The Vraxians were stronger and had better weapons. But they were choking and confused. The humans knew every corner of the ship. They hit hard and disappeared into the shadows before the Vraxians could react. Zethrak stared at his screens in disbelief. 3 of his ships were floating dead in space. The electromagnetic pulse from the human vessel had destroyed their systems. His boarding parties were either dead or trapped on the horizon, fighting for their lives against prey that refused to die. For the first time in his long career as a hunter, Zethrak felt something he had not experienced before. Fear. Not the thrill of danger during a hunt, but real, cold fear. These humans were not normal prey. On the horizon, Jake watched the disabled Vraxian ships drift helplessly. His plan had worked, but the victory came at a cost. The electromagnetic pulse had also damaged their own systems. The horizon was truly dying now. Not just pretending. Status report, Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm. Amy checked her console. Half the screens were dark. Main power is at 15%. Life support will fail in 4 hours. Engines are offline. We have no way to move. Ryan's voice came through the radio, tired and shaky. I can maybe get us basic power back, but it will take time. The reactor is barely holding together. Lisa arrived on the bridge, her medical coat covered in blood. Not all of it was from treating wounded crew members. She had fought alongside Nick and the others when the Vraxians boarded. Jake felt the weight of those deaths. 5 people who had come on a peaceful mission. 5 people who would never see Earth again. Their families would never know exactly how they died or how bravely they fought. But there was no time to grieve. They still had to survive. Ben was monitoring the Vraxian communications. Captain, the 2 remaining functional ships are regrouping. They're damaged, but still operational. And their commander sounds very angry. Zethrak was indeed angry. But he was also thinking. His prey had proven to be much more dangerous than expected. They had destroyed 4 ships and killed over 30 warriors. No prey species had ever done this much damage to a Vraxian hunting pack. According to Vraxian law, there were rules about the hunt. If prey proved too costly to hunt, the pack leader could choose to retreat. But retreating brought great shame. Zethrak would lose his position. Other Vraxians would mock him forever. He had to decide what was more important, his pride or his life. He looked at his remaining warriors. They were nervous. They had seen their brothers die. The humans had used tricks and weapons that seemed impossible for such a primitive species. Some warriors were whispering that perhaps the humans should not have been hunted at all. Commander, his second officer said carefully, the pack is weakened. Zethrak's claws dug into his command chair. Every instinct told him to continue the hunt, to restore his honor by killing these humans. But a small voice in his head, the voice of survival that kept his ancestors alive for millions of years, told him to run. Before he could decide, something unexpected happened. New ships appeared on the sensors. Not human ships, not Vraxian ships. These were from the Galactic Coalition, the organization that governed most of spacefaring species. A large diplomatic vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. It was followed by 3 escort ships. The diplomatic vessel began broadcasting on all frequencies in multiple languages. This is Ambassador Sharla of the Zenith Collective. We represent the Galactic Coalition. All hostile actions must cease immediately. This system is now under Coalition protection. Zethrak cursed in his native language. The Coalition had been monitoring the situation. The humans had been broadcasting everything. Their fight had been seen across multiple star systems. Now the Coalition was stepping in. On the horizon, Jake felt relief wash over him. The ambassador's ship moved between the human vessel and the Vraxian ships. Captain Morrison, this is Ambassador Sharla. Please respond if you are able. Jake grabbed the radio. This is Captain Jake Morrison. We are here. Badly damaged, but alive. We have watched your struggle, Captain. You have shown remarkable courage and resourcefulness. The Coalition formally apologizes for this attack. The Vraxians were operating in a legal gray area that we will now close. You and your crew are under our protection. Jake wanted to feel happy, but he was too tired. Thank you, Ambassador. We have wounded who need help. Medical ships are on their way. They will arrive within the hour. Sharla then addressed the Vraxian ships. Commander Zethrak, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. Your actions here have violated several Coalition agreements. Depart now, or face consequences. Zethrak had no choice. His pack was broken. The humans had survived, and now, the coalition was protecting them. He had lost in every possible way. "We will leave," he said, his voice full of shame and anger. But before his ships jumped to faster than light speed, Zethrak did something surprising. He sent a message directly to the horizon. To Jake Morrison, human captain. "You fought well. Better than any prey we have hunted. By the old laws of my people, a prey that defeats the hunter is no longer prey. You have earned respect. We will not hunt your species again. This, I promise, as pack leader." The message ended. The two Vraxian ships engaged their drives and vanished into the stars. Jake stood on the bridge, trying to process everything that had happened. They had been attacked by alien hunters. They had fought back against impossible odds. And they had survived. The crew members who could still walk gathered on the bridge. They looked at each other, seeing the same exhaustion and relief in every face. Lisa hugged Amy. Ryan sat down on the floor and started laughing, a slightly crazy sound born from stress and survival. Nick and Ben shook hands silently. "We did it," Amy said softly. "We actually did it," Jake nodded. "Yes, we did. And it cost us." He thought about the 5 crew members who died. About the 12 who were badly injured. About the ship that was barely holding together. They had won, but the price was high. The coalition medical ships arrived as promised. They were unlike anything the humans had seen before. Ships that seemed to be alive, pulsing with bioorganic technology. Medical teams from 3 different alien species came aboard the horizon. They were gentle and efficient, treating the wounded with technology that seemed like magic. Ambassador Sharla came aboard personally. She was a tall being made of living crystal, glowing with soft blue light. Her voice sounded like music. "Captain Morrison, I must speak with you about what happens next." Jake followed her to a quiet corner of the ship. Sharla's crystal face was hard to read, but her voice was serious. "Your species has been introduced to the galaxy in a violent way. This is unfortunate. But it cannot be undone. What happened here will be known across thousands of worlds." "Is that bad?" Jake asked. "That depends on what humanity does next. Some species will admire your courage. Others will fear your ability to fight. Fear can lead to respect or to aggression. Your people must be wise in the coming years." The horizon was being towed by a coalition repair ship. The human vessel was too damaged to move on its own. Jake watched from the bridge as they slowly made their way to a nearby coalition station. It would take weeks to fix their ship properly, maybe months. The crew was recovering. The alien doctors had technology that could heal wounds in days instead of months. Even the 2 critical patients were now stable and getting better. But some wounds were not physical. The crew members were quiet, lost in their own thoughts about what they had been through. Jake spent time with each person, talking to them, making sure they were okay mentally. Some were angry. Some were scared. Some just wanted to go home. All of them had changed. You could not go through something like that and stay the same person. Lisa sat in the medical bay, writing reports on the biological weapon she had created. She felt conflicted. She was a doctor. Her job was to save lives, not end them. But she had killed Vraxian warriors with her bacteria. It had been necessary for survival, but it still bothered her. "You did what you had to do," Jake said, sitting down next to her. "I know," Lisa replied. "But knowing something and feeling okay about it are different things. I keep thinking about those Vraxians struggling to breathe. I did that to them. They came to kill us for sport," Jake reminded her. "You saved lives. Our lives." Lisa nodded slowly. "I know. I just wish our first contact with aliens had been different, more peaceful." Jake understood completely. They had all imagined first contact being like the old movies. Friendly aliens coming in peace, sharing knowledge and culture. not hunters, treating them like animals. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news of the human victory was spreading fast. The coalition had released official statements about what happened, but more importantly, the recordings from the horizon were being shared on countless alien networks. Everyone wanted to see the primitive species that had defeated the feared Vraxians. On the coalition station where they were headed, hundreds of different alien species lived and worked together. When word came that the humans were arriving, reactions were mixed. Some aliens were impressed. They watched the recordings and saw clever tactics, bravery, and the refusal to give up. These aliens looked forward to meeting humanity and perhaps becoming friends. Others were worried. They saw a species that was violent and dangerous, even with primitive technology. What would humans be like with advanced weapons? What if they decided to become conquerors instead of explorers? A few were plotting. There were criminal organizations in the galaxy, smugglers and pirates who saw opportunity. If humans could fight that well, they might be valuable as mercenaries or slaves. These criminals began making plans to capture humans if they got the chance. And in the far reaches of space, other hunting species heard about the Vraxian defeat. Some accepted the message that humans should not be hunted. But others saw it as a challenge. If the Vraxians could not kill these humans, maybe they could. It would bring great honor. Earth itself had received the news 2 days ago. The message had taken weeks to travel from deep space to home. When it arrived, the planet went crazy. People were shocked, scared, excited, and angry all at the same time. There were aliens, real aliens, and they had tried to kill humans. The Horizon crew were heroes who had survived and fought back. But now, everyone knew that space was dangerous. Governments held emergency meetings. Military leaders wanted to build weapons and warships immediately. Scientists wanted to learn everything they could about alien technology. Regular people just wanted their loved ones to come home safe. Jake's family watched the news constantly. His wife Claire cried with relief when she learned he was alive. His 2 kids, Emily and Sam, told everyone at school that their dad had fought aliens. They were proud, but also scared. When would he come home? The Horizon finally reached the coalition station 3 days later. It was massive. A city in space that housed over 2 million beings from hundreds of different worlds. The station orbited a beautiful blue and green planet that reminded Jake of Earth. As they docked, Jake and his crew got their first real look at galactic civilization. Through the windows, they saw aliens of every shape and size imaginable. Beings made of energy, beings with 6 legs, beings that floated in tanks of liquid, beings covered in fur or scales or feathers. "It's incredible," Amy whispered, staring out the window with wide eyes. Ambassador Sharla met them at the airlock. "Welcome to Station Unity. You are the first humans to visit this place. Many beings want to meet you." Jake and a few crew members followed Sharla into the station. They wore simple uniforms that the coalition had provided, since their own clothes were damaged and dirty from the battle. The first thing that hit them was the noise. Thousands of voices speaking hundreds of languages. The second thing was the smell, a mix of different atmospheres and alien biology. The third thing was the stares. Every alien they passed stopped to look at the humans. Some pointed, some took pictures, some just stared silently. "You are celebrities," Sharla explained. "Everyone has seen the recordings of your fight. Many beings are curious about your species." They walked through markets where aliens sold things the humans could not identify. They passed restaurants with smells both delicious and horrible. They saw technology that seemed impossible and beautiful. Sharla brought them to a large conference room. Inside waited representatives from 20 different species, all part of the coalition government. They wanted to talk about Earth joining the coalition as a protected member world. The meeting lasted for hours. The aliens asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about their technology level. Jake answered honestly. He explained that Earth was not united under one government. He told them that humans could be peaceful but also violent. He was careful not to lie or exaggerate. Finally, one of the representatives, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish, asked the important question. What does humanity want from the galaxy? Jake thought carefully before answering. We want to learn. We want to explore. We want to meet new friends and share knowledge. But after what happened to us, we also want to be safe. We want to make sure no one hunts us again, the jellyfish being pulsed with soft light. A reasonable desire. The coalition can offer protection, but it comes with responsibilities. You would need to follow our laws. You would need to contribute to the common good. Are humans willing to do this? Ni. I cannot speak for all of humanity, Jake said honestly. I am just a ship captain. My government will need to make that decision. But personally, I think working together is better than being alone. The representatives talked among themselves in languages the translator could not handle. Finally, Sharla turned to Jake. The coalition will send a formal diplomatic mission to Earth within 6 months. We will discuss membership properly. For now, Earth is granted temporary protection status. No species may hunt humans legally. Any who try will face coalition justice. Jake felt relief. It was not a perfect solution, but it was a start. Earth would have time to prepare, to build defenses, to decide how they wanted to relate to the galaxy. After the meeting, Sharla took Jake to a private room. There is something you should know, Captain. Not all threats follow the law. There are criminals, pirates, and rogue hunters who may still target your species. The coalition can protect Earth itself, but humans traveling in space will be at risk until your people become stronger. End quote. How long will that take? Jake asked. Years, maybe decades. The coalition can share some technology, but most species must develop their own. It is safer that way. Technology given too quickly can be dangerous. Jake understood. You could not just hand advanced weapons to a species that was still fighting among themselves. Earth needed to mature as a civilization before they could have access to the really powerful technology. The crew of the Horizon spent 3 weeks on Station Unity while their ship was being repaired. During that time, they became something like celebrities in the galactic community. Everywhere they went, aliens wanted to talk to them, ask questions, or just see the humans who had defeated the Vraxians. Jake found it exhausting at first, but slowly, he began to enjoy learning about other species and cultures. The galaxy was far more diverse and interesting than he had ever imagined. One morning, Jake was having breakfast in a station cafeteria when a small alien approached his table. The creature was only 3 feet tall, covered in soft purple fur, with 4 arms and large golden eyes. It looked nervous. "Excuse me, Captain Morrison. May I sit with you?" the alien asked in surprisingly good English. "Of course," Jake said, gesturing to the empty chair. The alien climbed onto the chair. "My name is Pip. I am from the planet Kelnor. My people were hunted by the Vraxians 20 years ago. Many died. We thought we were alone in our suffering. Then we saw your recordings. You fought back. You survived. You gave us hope." Jake felt a lump in his throat. "I am sorry for what happened to your people." Pip's large eyes showed sadness. "We were not strong enough to resist. We hid until the Vraxians grew bored and left. We have lived in fear ever since. But seeing humans fight, seeing you win, it made us think that maybe we do not have to be victims forever." Over the next hour, Pip told Jake about the Kelnor people. They were scientists and artists, peaceful by nature. Violence was rare on their world. When the Vraxians came, they had no idea how to defend themselves. Thousands died before the hunters moved on to easier prey. "What you did was very brave," Pip said. Jake thought about it. Humans have been fighting for our entire history. We fought each other. We fought animals. We fought nature itself. Earth is not a gentle planet. It made us tough, but also, we refused to give up. Even when things looked hopeless, we kept trying to find a way to survive. Pip listened carefully. Perhaps my people need to learn this. Not to be violent, but to be ready. To never give up. After Pip left, Jake thought about that conversation. The Horizons fight had inspired other weak species to think about defending themselves. Was that good or bad? Jake was not sure. Meanwhile, Lisa had made friends with a coalition doctor named Vorin. Vorin was from a species called the Helixians, who looked like tall, thin beings made of intertwined vines. Vorin was fascinated by human biology and medicine. "Your species is remarkably resilient," Vorin said as they walked through the medical research section of the station. "You can survive injuries that would kill most other beings. Your immune system is incredibly aggressive, and your ability to adapt to stress is unusual." "Is that why we survived the Vraxian hunt?" Lisa asked. "Partly. But I think your minds are equally important. You do not freeze when threatened. You think. You plan. You improvise. This is rare. Many species become paralyzed by fear when facing predators." Lisa and Vorin shared medical knowledge for hours. Lisa learned about healing techniques that seemed like science fiction. Vorin learned about human determination and the way humans could push through pain that would stop other beings. Ryan spent his time in the engineering sections of the station. He was like a child in a candy store, seeing technology that was hundreds of years ahead of Earth's. Alien engineers showed him fusion reactors that could power cities, engines that could bend space, and materials that could repair themselves. One engineer, a mechanical being named Crix, took special interest in Ryan. "You modified your ship's systems during combat. Very clever. Most species cannot innovate under such pressure. They panic and make mistakes." "I just did what made sense," Ryan said modestly. Crix's mechanical eyes glowed brighter. "Exactly. Practical intelligence is more valuable than theoretical knowledge. Your species has this quality. You could become great engineers if given the chance." Amy and Ben spent time learning about galactic politics and culture. They attended lectures, visited museums, and talked to representatives from dozens of worlds. They learned that the galaxy was complicated. There were alliances, rivalries, old grudges, and current tensions. One species, the Korath, were particularly interesting to talk to. They looked like bears made of stone, and were known as warriors. When they heard the human story, they requested a meeting with Jake and his crew. The Korath ambassador was massive, over 9 feet tall, and covered in rock-like armor. His name was Gren, and he spoke in a voice like grinding stones. "Humans, we respect what you did. You fought with honor. The Korath people would welcome friendship with your species." "Why?" Jake asked, curious about this sudden interest. Gren laughed, a sound like an avalanche. "Because you understand what we know. The galaxy is dangerous. Peace is good, but you must be ready to fight for it. Too many species in the coalition have forgotten this. They rely on others for protection. But you are willing to protect yourselves. This is admirable." The Korath offered to share defensive technology with Earth once they joined the coalition. They wanted to establish trade and cultural exchange. Jake said he would pass the message to Earth's government. Not everyone was friendly, though. Jake had a tense meeting with a species called the Trendali. They were merchants and traders, very wealthy and influential. Their representative, a slug-like being named Merc, was blunt. "Your species is disruptive, Captain Morrison. You have upset the balance. Now weak species think they can resist their natural place in the order. This will cause problems." "Natural place?" Jake felt anger rising. You mean being victims? Being hunted for sport? Merc's body rippled. The strong have always ruled the weak. This is nature. By defeating the Vraxians, you give false hope to species that should accept their role. Jake stood up. If that is nature, then nature is wrong. Every species has the right to exist without being hunted. If you cannot understand that, then we have nothing more to discuss. He walked out of the meeting, leaving Merc looking surprised. Later, Charla told him that the Trendali often bought captured beings from pirates and used them as workers. They did not like the idea of their victims fighting back. As the weeks passed, Jake realized that the galaxy was not united in welcoming humanity. Some species were excited about new friends. Others were worried about competition or disruption. And some saw humans as threats or opportunities to exploit. One evening, the entire crew gathered in a common area of the station. They had been through so much together. They had lost friends. They had fought and bled. They had seen wonders and horrors. Now they were about to go home, and nothing would ever be the same. I want to say something, Jake told his crew. What we went through was terrible. We did not ask for it, but we survived. And in surviving, we showed the galaxy who we are. We showed them that humans are tough, smart, and brave. Every one of you is a hero. Remember that. Lisa raised her glass. To the lost. May they be remembered. To the lost. Everyone echoed. Ryan added. To Earth, they all said together. The next morning, they boarded the repaired Horizon. The ship looked almost new. Coalition engineers had fixed all the damage and even upgraded some systems. It was time to go home. As they prepared to leave, Charla came to say goodbye. Captain Morrison, you and your crew have made history. How humanity proceeds from this point will determine your place in the galaxy. Choose wisely. We will try, Jake promised. The Horizon undocked from Station Unity and turned toward home. The journey would take 2 months. 2 months to process everything that had happened. 2 months to prepare for the changes that were coming. The Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's moon. Jake felt his heart swell as he saw the blue and white planet through the window. Home. After 5 months in space, after facing death and meeting aliens, after everything they had been through, they were finally home. Earth Control. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Horizon. Requesting permission to land, Jake said into the radio. There was a pause, then a voice filled with emotion replied. Horizon. This is Earth Control. Welcome home. You are cleared for landing at Houston Space Center. The whole world has been waiting for you. As the Horizon descended through the atmosphere, they could see something unexpected. Thousands of people had gathered around the landing area. They lined the roads, filled the viewing areas, and crowded near the fences. When the ship touched down, the roar of cheering was so loud they could hear it inside the ship. Jake and his crew looked at each other nervously. They had been focused on survival and getting home. They had not really thought about what would happen when they arrived. Now, they understood. They were heroes. The airlock opened, and Jake stepped out first. The sunlight felt warm on his face. The air smelled like Earth, like home. He walked down the ramp, followed by his crew. The cheering got even louder. Waiting at the bottom were government officials, military leaders, and families. Jake's wife Claire broke through the line and ran to him. She jumped into his arms, crying and laughing at the same time. His kids, Emily and Sam, were right behind her, hugging him tightly. I thought I would never see you again, Claire whispered in his ear. I am here. I am okay. We made it, Jake said, holding his family close. All around him, other crew members were reuniting with their loved ones. There were tears of joy, shouts of happiness, and the relief of finally being safe. But there were also families who looked at the ship, hoping to see someone who was not there. The families of the 5 who had died. Jake made sure to talk to each of those families personally. He told them how bravely their loved ones had fought. He promised them that their sacrifice would be remembered. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Looking into the eyes of parents, spouses, and children who would never see their family member again. The President of the United States was there. She shook Jake's hand and spoke into the cameras. Today, these brave explorers return home. They faced an enemy none of us knew existed. They fought with courage and intelligence. They showed the galaxy what it means to be human. They are heroes, and we will never forget what they did. We. The speech was followed by more cheering. But Jake felt uncomfortable. Yes, they had fought and survived, but they had also killed. They had used violence to solve a problem. He was not sure that made them heroes. It just made them survivors. Over the next few weeks, life became very strange for the crew of the Horizon. They were interviewed constantly. News programs, podcasts, documentaries. Everyone wanted to hear their story. They attended ceremonies and received awards. Schools and streets were named after them. They were invited to speak at the United Nations. But fame was exhausting. Jake missed the quiet days when he was just a ship captain exploring space. He missed the simplicity of not being recognized everywhere he went. Earth itself had changed dramatically. The attack on the Horizon had shocked humanity. Governments were now working together to build defenses. Scientists were studying the alien technology that the coalition had shared. Military forces were training for possible future threats. Space programs around the world received massive funding increases. Every nation wanted to have ships and weapons to protect Earth. Within months, construction began on the first human warships. They would be primitive compared to alien vessels, but they would be a start. The coalition diplomatic mission arrived 6 months after the Horizon returned home. Ambassador Charla led a group of representatives from 20 different species. They met with Earth's leaders to discuss membership in the coalition. The negotiations were complex. Some nations wanted to join immediately. Others were suspicious of alien intentions. Some leaders wanted access to advanced technology. Others worried about losing Earth's independence. Jake was asked to attend some of the meetings. The aliens trusted him because they had met him before. Earth's leaders valued his experience with galactic politics. What do you think we should do? The United Nations Secretary General asked Jake during a private meeting. Jake thought carefully before answering. I think we should join, but carefully. We need the protection the coalition offers. We need allies. But we should not rush to change everything about ourselves. We should stay human, stay true to who we are, while learning to be part of something bigger. The negotiations took months. Finally, an agreement was reached. Earth would join the coalition as a junior member. They would receive protection and access to some technology. In return, they would follow coalition laws when dealing with other species and contribute to mutual defense. Not everyone was happy with the decision. Some people protested, saying Earth should stay independent. Others celebrated, excited about the opportunities that galactic membership would bring. But most people were just relieved that Earth would have powerful allies protecting them. Lisa went back to medical school, but now she was studying both human and alien medicine. She wanted to become a doctor who could treat any species. The coalition had offered to send alien medical teachers to Earth, and Lisa would be one of their first students. Ryan got a job with the new Space Defense Initiative. He was helping design Earth's first combat-ready starships. The work was exciting, but also sobering. He was building weapons to fight wars he hoped would never happen. Amy became an instructor at the new Galactic Relations Academy. She taught diplomats and explorers about alien cultures and how to avoid misunderstandings. Her classes were always full. Everyone wanted to learn from someone who had actually been out there. Ben worked as a translator for the Coalition Embassy on Earth. He was one of the few humans who could speak multiple alien languages. He helped with communication between Earth and the various alien species that were now visiting regularly. Nick returned to the military and became a trainer. He taught soldiers how to fight in space, how to use alien environments to their advantage, and how to survive against technologically superior enemies. His most important lesson was simple: never give up, no matter how bad things look. A year after returning home, the crew of the Horizon had a reunion. They gathered at a memorial built to honor the 5 who had died. The memorial was a simple stone monument with their names carved into it. Beneath the names was an inscription: "They explored in peace and fought with courage. They will not be forgotten." The crew stood together in silence, remembering their lost friends. Then they went to a nearby restaurant to catch up on their lives. "Do you think we will ever go back out there?" Amy asked. Jake looked around at his crew. These people who had become like family through shared trauma and survival. "I do not know. Part of me wants to. Part of me is happy staying here, on Earth, with my family." "The galaxy is bigger now," Lisa said thoughtfully. "We know we are not alone. We know there are wonders and dangers out there. Someone has to explore it. Someone has to represent humanity." Line at a line. End quote. "We know we're Contreason's wonder," Ryan nodded. "The first generation of human-designed starships will be ready in 2 years. They will need experienced crews." End quote. Own 2. Unquote. "Are you saying we should volunteer?" Ben asked. "Maybe," Ryan said with a small smile. "We already know what is out there. We already survived the worst. Who better to lead the next mission?" Jake thought about it. He had told himself he was done with space exploration. But Ryan was right. They had experience that no other humans had. They understood the dangers. They knew how to survive. "Let me think about it," Jake said. "Ask me again in a few months." But deep down, he already knew his answer. Space was calling him back. Not because he wanted glory or adventure, but because someone had to be out there, representing humanity, showing the galaxy what humans could be at their best. The conversation turned to lighter topics. They shared stories about their new jobs and families. They laughed about the strange things that had happened on the station. They remembered the good times before the attack, when they were just explorers excited to see what was beyond Earth. As the evening ended and they said their goodbyes, Jake felt grateful. They had survived something terrible together. They had lost friends, but saved each other. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not easy prey. And now they had the chance to show that humans could be more than just survivors. They could be explorers, teachers, friends, and protectors. Walking home that night, Jake looked up at the stars. They did not look mysterious anymore. He knew what was up there now. Beauty and danger, friends and enemies, opportunities and risks. The galaxy was huge and complicated, and sometimes cruel, but it was also worth exploring. Earth was safe for now. The Coalition protected them. Human ships would soon patrol their own space. But safety was not enough. Humans needed to be part of the galactic community, to contribute, to learn, to grow. Jake thought about his children. They would grow up in a universe where aliens were real, where other worlds existed, where humanity was just one species among thousands. What kind of future could he help build for them? He made his decision. When the new ships were ready, he would volunteer. Not to fight, but to explore properly this time. To meet aliens in peace. To learn from them. To teach them about humanity. To show the galaxy that humans were more than just tough survivors. They were beings capable of curiosity, compassion, and courage. The stars waited above, full of infinite possibilities. And humanity, having proven they could survive the darkness, was ready to explore the light. The hunt had turned on the hunters. But more importantly, the prey had become something new. Not predators seeking victims, but explorers seeking understanding. Warriors when necessary, but peacemakers by choice. That was what Jake wanted humanity to become. And standing there, Looking up at the night sky, he believed it was possible. The galaxy had tried to hunt them and failed. Now it would learn what humans could really do when given the chance to thrive instead of just survive. The story of the horizon was over. But humanity's story among the stars was just beginning. As Earth grew closer day by day, Jake thought about the future. Humanity now knew they were not alone. They knew the galaxy was dangerous. They knew they could fight and survive, but they also knew they had much to learn. The question was, what kind of species did humans want to be? Warriors? Explorers? Traders? Teachers? Maybe all of those things. Maybe something new entirely. Jake looked at his crew working on the bridge. These people had faced death and won. They represented the best of humanity. If others could be like them, maybe humans would do okay in this big, strange, dangerous galaxy. The stars stretched out before them, full of promise and peril. Humanity's journey among them had just begun. That night, Jake stood at a window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. He missed it terribly. But he also knew that he was standing at a turning point in human history. Everything would be different now. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had allies, potential friends, and definite enemies. The question was, what would they become? Would they be explorers and scientists, spreading knowledge and peace? Would they be warriors, defending themselves and others from threats? Or would they be something else entirely? Jake did not know the answer. But he knew one thing for certain. Humans had proven they could survive when hunted. They could adapt, fight, and win against terrible odds. Whatever challenges came next, humanity would face them the way they faced the Vraxians, with courage, intelligence, and the absolute refusal to give up. Jake understood. Humanity's first contact with aliens had been a battle. That would shape how other species saw them. They would be known as warriors before they were known as explorers. What about the Vraxians? Jake asked. Sharla made a sound like wind chimes. They have granted you recognition. This is rare. It means they see humans as fellow predators, not prey. No Vraxian will legally hunt humans again, but there are other hunters in the galaxy, and some may see you as a challenge to overcome. Jake felt tired suddenly. So tired. We just wanted to explore, to learn, to see what was out there. Man. I know, Sharla said gently. But the galaxy is not a peaceful place. You have learned this lesson harshly. The question is, what will Earth do with this knowledge? The aliens tried to retreat to their shuttles, but Jake had sealed the airlocks remotely. In his command ship, Zethrak watched his warriors struggle. This was not how a hunt was supposed to go. The prey had turned into predators. His proud hunters were dying in confusion and fear. Then Jake played his final card. Ryan, now! The reactor pulsed. A massive electromagnetic wave burst from the horizon. It spread out in all directions. Invisible, but powerful. It hit the Vraxian ships like a hammer. Electronics fried. Computers went dead. Weapons stopped working. The hunter ships went dark and began drifting. 3 of the 5 remaining ships were now completely disabled. Jake knew they could not win a straight fight. They needed to be smart. Amy, get us into that asteroid field. Use the rocks for cover. The horizon turned and flew toward a nearby field of floating rocks. The ship moved between the asteroids, using them as shields. The Vraxian ships followed, firing constantly. Jake looked at his crew. They were afraid but still working hard. They trusted him to save them. He had to think of something. These aliens thought humans were easy prey. It was time to show them they were wrong. The hunt had begun. But the humans were not going to die easily.